Where I grew up, I just drifted into agnosticism and then full-blown militant atheism, folks. And in July 1980 in Tucson, Arizona, I contracted what is known as cholera and who knows what else by drinking contaminated water someone had left in a thermos while I was working at a local construction site. It's about 3 to 4 days into it, your body goes into shock, and you usually die at that point. As soon as I left my body and took my last breath, I no longer believed in atheism. I'm telling you, it was like a swoosh, and I floated upwards, justified my betraying other people, abandoning people, rejecting people, and using people like a commodity. That's what I was doing. I placed burdens on people, on my parents they could not bear, and other people. I mocked people. I scoffed people, especially Christians. I sold drugs to the Southern Baptist youth group. And I bore false witness against anybody who I did not like. And I felt totally justified of doing so. Standing before the Lord is more terrifying than hell because you're totally uncovered. You're totally undone. I mean, you're like, I don't have a leg to stand on because I know I'm a wretch. And so God's love judged me like this. He showed me really personally how I manipulated his love, goodness, and mercy for my own ends. For years afterwards, I had nightmares. Sometimes I still have a little bit. I looked up and it looked like I was in a pit. Back inside, like I said, it was all big as all outdoors, but it's inside. It was a small cube. The cubes would be the bricks in the wall. And in the middle was an open area where there was no beginning and no end. It was a bottomless pit. And each level of this pit bore just degrees of recompense. People above me were receiving less, and the people below me were receiving more. I saw a wealthy guy that died probably in ancient days. And people came over, there were demons, and they got a party, and they ended up throwing them outside into the dust of the street. And they did that because he stepped on people to get ahead. He would take entire areas of the pagan city that he was from and say, I want that. I want these peasants out of here, flatten it and build some great temple or something like that for the gods. That's the type of person he was. He just did things for himself and they had investments back then too. And that's what he did, invest in his own ploys and schemes, coming back to haunt him. And I saw another lady this lady loved to toy with people's lives like a mouse, she's like a cat drags in a mouse, and that's what this lady treated people. I saw her reaping what she sowed. I saw a lady from Africa down by the river washing clothes, and she used to make fun of other people, especially Christians and stuff. And she was down there being mocked and beaten and ostracized by the whole community. Like she would pit the whole community against certain people she did not like to get them to do her bidding. And that was happening to her. There's things like that. I'd go along in this kaleidoscope, real brief snippets like that. One particular cell, when I looked inside of it, and it was like the inside of a furnace. And in it was Adolf Hitler. You can't mistake him. He was like going through each person for however long it takes to cremate somebody or gas them. He was going through that over and over and over and over and over again. And then suddenly, and that'll probably change in a few billion years, and it'll probably be something far worse later on. And that's what he was doing. I just saw him at that point burning in there, and yet flesh would be consumed in flames and burn off and come back on his skin. I can't explain it. And he would feel the pain, and yet he was getting violently angry. I knew intuitively that he experienced the gas chambers. He experienced being stripped. He experienced being raped. He experienced all being buried alive, just in all that stuff, and put in back of vans too, and die of carbon monoxide poisoning, where they got rid of the worthless eaters, as they say, the DD people, and I wanted to wake up so bad, but you can't wake up.
I joined the gang at a very young age, between the age of 12 and 13. I had a rough life, and I pretty much mastered the craft, so to speak, of the streets. They stabbed me in the back and set me up to get me killed. This darkness is alive. So as I'm falling, I knew this was hell. And then I heard the screams of the people. And the first thing I noticed were these demons. For some reason, I knew I was still here on earth. I still knew I wasn't in outer space somewhere. I wasn't under space. I was in a different dimension, but I was still on earth. The scriptures are right. It is here on earth. It's just a different dimension. It was horrible. You have people who look like bone. I would say they look like bones. Some of them were bones with actually flesh hanging off. But the things that I saw and the tortures that I saw is that you regenerate. So just say if your arm falls off, it'll grow right back so you can get tortured again. It's a place of pure torture, like torture. Hell is no relief. Ignorance is not a way out of it, you all. So I'm just telling you, watch what you do. But as I'm looking at the cells, all of a sudden I feel again. Now this time I'm standing on the cliff and I'm looking down a dead forest, but it had a path on it. And on the path, there was it was, as far as the eye can see, they were all chained together. They were all chained up and they looked like pure skeletons. None of them had flesh on them at all. None of them. And they were all chained together. But then as you look further ahead to where they were going, it was gates. And it was a wall that was so high and the gates were so high. Those were the gates of hell. The place that I was at was before hell. But then it was something so more extreme at the gate once you hit the real dimension in the gates of hell. I was already terrified beyond being terrified. I knew I deserved it. And that's the scariest part because you know you're supposed to be there. First of all, God, he lives in you. He lives in all of us, okay? So when you're doing these things, he's there with you. He's there with you. There's no escaping it. There's no hiding. That's why he always puts on my heart, who are you when no one's around? When you're internally in a spirit body, you can look at a person inside hell and you know why they're there. Yeah, I've seen pastors there. Like, for example, the first lady who I saw getting tortured individually, not the people in the pits. There were two demons and they were laughing, these reptile things, and they had her mouth and they stretched her mouth so far back, like to rip her jaws open, and they were pouring lava down her throat and sticking her throat with spears and just like these old ancient looking rusty daggers, and they were getting a kick, and it was horrible. But then the fact is, she turned the bone, she was breaking up, and then she would rejuvenate. And they would do it all over again and over again and over. And they were taking turns. They were inviting other demonic spirits. They were laughing. They were having fun torturing this lady. People commit a lot of sins on a wide spectrum. But the one that sticks out the most is the one that's going to rectify, that you're going to get inside hell. So they say, a person who is promiscuous, and that's another one. I'm going to keep it not explicit, but I saw a young lady in hell. There were demons literally taking turns having sex with this woman. And when I say it's not regular sexual intercourse, it was beyond mind. I mean, I can't say too much to describe, but all I can say is that she was very promiscuous when she was here on this earth, and they were torturing her in ways that you can't even imagine. Everything counts. When I teleported to this other part of hell, okay, I saw these cells. They're open old bar cells, and there are people in them. There are people in them. Some of them look like skeletons. Some of them were just burned, like to a crisp, and they're cursing God, and they were just very angry. Some of them even started looking like almost a reptilian look because of the hatred coming out of them. And also, I noticed some of them been there for thousands of years. The clock stops, and I realized that. I saw people there who were there 2,000 years, 4,000, and you just know the ancientness of it. I saw all different languages. It doesn't discriminate. The devil doesn't discriminate at all. The whole end point is to get you there. That's it. So all of this, while we're messing around with racism, we're messing around with judging others of economic status, which is just an illusion, by the way. It's about spiritual currency. It's an illusion, and it's a trap to get us there.
It's time to keep it real, make it real, because hell is real. Hell is everywhere in the Bible. There's over 400 passages in the Bible on hell. Jesus spoke about hell throughout the entire Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and Revelation. We'll talk about that. I personally have had my own personal hell experience, as have others that you see on YouTube. These people are not lying. They're telling you the truth. Hell is so real that Jesus spoke about it twice as much as going to heaven. Let me say that again. Jesus spoke about hell twice as much as he did heaven. that means something. He wants you to get it. He doesn't want you to go to hell. It doesn't make sense for me for people to plan for everything in their life, college, life insurance, health insurance, car insurance, but they don't plan for eternal life insurance. There is life after death. In fact, it's more real. All these people who have gone to heaven and hell and come back, they all say the same thing, as do I. It's more real than this reality itself. It's hyper real. People being there for many reasons, but one of the biggest reasons was fornication and adultery. You know in your heart that adultery is wrong. You know in your heart that you can't watch porn. It's actually idolatry. It's a form of worship of the image that you're watching. But you're watching other people have sex. Do you see how perverted that is? It's just, but we get brainwashed. We get programmed. If you hear something enough that it's okay, you start believing it. Hitler said, if you say a lie long enough, loud enough, and ridiculous enough, you believe it. So, we're hearing it's okay to have as many girlfriends or boyfriends as you want. It's okay to commit adultery with as many people as you want. It's okay to watch as much porn as you want. No, it's not okay. It's okay with our society, but it's not okay with God.
You can see everything in a 360-degree view. You're tormented because the pain is so much worse outside of your body. Well, I had 6 demons on each side, and they were tearing at my skin, literally shredding it off of my bones. The second realm, I was also tormented. Every time I was tormented, it was all unspoken things on earth. They know your deepest fears. And I've heard this from many people that have been to hell. Then all of a sudden I was thrown into the third realm, and that was by far the most horrific. And repeatedly assaulted. When I say repeatedly, I mean like by many, many different men/demons, many, and I don't know what was worse sometimes, is knowing their screams, hearing the other girls scream, or my own screams.
Immediately when I woke up, I knew that that's where I was, because it's the most intense pain and confusion, and you're on fire. Everybody around you is screaming in pain, because that's why they say gnashing of teeth, because everybody's just in pain, screaming, and everybody's on fire. So you're just burning alive, everybody is. And you just see faces around you, everybody's screaming, and it was bad.
This hopelessness, boom, and this heaviness hit him, and it's hitting me too, so hard that I'm gagging. I just want to throw up. It's too much hopelessness. The idea that you'll never ever get out of this place and it's over for you. It was just too much.
It was back in March in 2017, and I was with who I thought was my friend. It was drug buddy. She was a very bad heroin addict, and I was just dabbling into it, and she gave me a shot in my arm. More scared than I've ever felt in my life. I just started falling and falling and falling into like darkness as it started to get hotter and hotter and hotter. And all of a sudden, it was like I landed like a quicksand. Reality felt more real than I've ever felt in my life. It literally hurt so bad just looking in the darkness, and that fear instantly was like no fear I've ever felt before. It was like there was no presence of God there. My whole life I used to struggle with anxiety and panic attacks. The worst panic attack that I've ever had on earth, I would times it by 1 billion, and it's constant. The hopelessness, the feeling of, oh my gosh, you know that you're never, ever gonna get out. And they were so, the evil. It's so hard to talk about. Talking about this experience is really hard because I've struggled with PTSD from it, and this is why I'm really speaking about it now, and I'm really trying to keep it together. It's really hard to explain it because you don't realize just how torturous. It's just torture. And there is nothing like your soul being on fire. I wouldn't wish hell on my worst enemy. And that's what I'm trying. That's the whole reason why I'm trying to tell the world.
We have another pilot on today. You may have heard our interview a number of weeks back with Captain Dale Black, and today we are going to be speaking with Jim Woodford.
I was terrified. I was absolutely baffled. There was no rationale, no technical reason I could attach to this. And as I looked down, the first thing I saw was at the very pit of this, the bottom of this abyss, was a fire, a red fire. The doorway was huge, and so was the creature that came out. The look of hatred that I saw in its glowing eyes, not just for me, but for all of mankind, will stay with me forever. And it reared up out of the pit, and I was confronted by this creature, body on fire, dripping saliva. There was screaming, and the screaming was coming not from its mouth. The screaming appeared to be coming from within the body. It was as though this creature, Randy, had consumed souls, and they were crying out for mercy.
And they'll laugh. They were giggling. There's no air in there. And then suddenly these flames just rose from the ground up. There was a lot of screams. There's been people burning there for many, many, many years, hundreds of years. Their flesh burns. They burn, they burn, they burn, and the flesh falls. And your bones get nice and toasty and black and gray. Then the flame, your skin, your flesh starts growing back on you. And then the flames start again. And I also seen maggots crawling through your flesh. And you see demons poking their privates with these swords, poking their privates all the way in and coming out through their chests in a different direction, but they start in through their privates. That's the way they think of us, that we're stupid because we're so dumb to listen to every little lie that the enemy says.
So whether that was drinking and driving with buddies and underage driving, stealing cars, and getting stereos and having the thrill of.
Jordan decided to smoke some pot. He didn't know the pipe he used was laced with crack cocaine.
I can feel my heart going boop, 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 slowing down, boop, 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 and then boop, 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 like fluttering. All these women and all the things you think you want in the world, money, cars, success, all these things that I had, and I was driving, I was just loving it. And then all of a sudden this car broke down. All of a sudden these women turned to huge, huge demons, and it earthquaked. And I look behind me and I can hear screaming, it's all red and black. Turn around, get out of here. It sounded like people burning, people that were just burning, that couldn't find a cure or a fix to anything. It was just the worst.
I felt myself falling. The ground is thousands of degrees, but your feet aren't burnt. You're very hot, but you're not passed out. It's like people are standing on shells of rock. It's very hot, it's glowing. You're very thirsty. You can't breathe. You're extremely hungry. There's extreme torment. I mean, the odor is terrible. I mean, everything about hell you can imagine is everything bad you can imagine life is what hell is. You can't breathe, you can't talk, you're in torment, you're screaming. It's very hot.
And instead of going up, I fell and sank and sank and sank, and it felt like I was in an elevator that was just free falling but never going back up. There's souls everywhere to my left. There's souls everywhere to my right. They were not dressed, but they were cut up. There was like cut marks everywhere, but they were like broken, distorted. And I saw demons there, and these demons were not small. They were huge. They were like 3, 4, 5 stories tall. I saw, even when I looked down, I saw like a chain going through my stomach. It hurt so much, and there's so much pain, the guilt, the fear, the anxiety, the condemnation, the hopelessness one feels is so magnified that I didn't have the willpower or the energy to ask the person next to me, how you doing? You're just in agony agony, agony. It was 100 times worse, spiritually, physically, emotionally, of anything I felt on earth. I'd rather be torture sit in a prison in North Korea than to go back to hell for another second. I don't want anyone to go there. I want all my enemies, the worst people in history, to repent and go to heaven.